welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Thursday. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm back at it with yet another video, and we're going to be taking a little bit of an advanced look at this up-and-coming Pluto retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, make sure you give me a thumbs up, like this video, and consider sharing with other people, as well as subscribe to the channel. Click the bell button below so you're alerted as to when I have new videos. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, trying to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. All right, well, I'm excited to do this video. Some of you guys are going to be like, hey, this is early. Yes, it's early, but there is a method to my madness. We're not going to see the retrograde kind of kick off until the beginning of May. But, okay, this is happening before we see the Mars-Pluto opposition. So if you guys have been following the astrology, obviously this has been a kind of a back and forth tug of war in regards to power, control, conflict, all that stuff that's been brewing since the fall of last year. So over the next couple of days, it's going to be hitting on the 26th. Mars in Leo will oppose Pluto in Aquarius. So I want to do this video before the opposition because I am really expecting lots of jaw-dropping things to be happening over the next week, lots of disclosure, lots of intense pressure, and then following up with that, when Pluto turns retrograde at the beginning of May, we can dig deep, reassess, reevaluate, and also maybe find a little inner strength in the opportunity to overcome some of the crisis. So in this video, we're going to be doing a cosmic deep dive. We're going to talk about Pluto, what Pluto represents. We're going to talk about this retrograde happening in the sign of Aquarius. And it's a big one, okay? Both for us personally, but also the collective, because Pluto is a planet that impacts everyone. And I'm excited to see how this really inspires a lot of personal growth, awareness, shadow work for all of us. So I've got dates for you guys, degrees, meetings, as well as predictions for each and every one of the 12 rising signs. So definitely stick around to the end of the video. And once again, if you guys are new here, hit that like button so that way you can follow along as this stuff is happening with me in real time. So let's talk a little bit about Pluto retrograde. All right, so we're going to see Pluto turning retrograde in Aquarius. We have seen Pluto in and out of the sign for the better part of the last 2 years. The last Pluto retrograde actually showed us Pluto leaving the sign in Capricorn, going into Aquarius briefly, retrograding back into Pluto. We saw the finale in that sign in the fall. So the deal with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius essentially, I think, is going to be about really looking at Pluto's kind of transformative energy, right? Pluto is a powerhouse when we look at this astrologically. So this is a planet that deals with themes connected to transformation, power, as well as kind of digging into our shadow selves, kind of peeling back the layers and looking, I think, a little bit deeper into the shadows, right? That's what we do during a Pluto retrograde. So in the sign of Aquarius, this is all about innovation. It's about technology, the future, community, and breaking the mold. So I definitely feel like this is about a 5-month period where we're really excavating all of the stuff that's been coming up in recent months, maybe shaking up some systems and reimagining how we all live together. So when the retrograde happens, the energy turns inward, right? We've had a lot of retrogrades over like the last 2 months. So planets, when they turn retrograde, from Earth's perspective, they slow down. It looks like they're going backwards. But in a sense of applying this to us personally, we want to turn within in the area of Aquarius in our charts. So pull out your chart, take a look, see which house Aquarius is. That's where you're going to be doing all the excavation over the next couple of months. And I really feel like this is also less about external chaos, which we've seen a lot of with Pluto and Aquarius. It's more about inner revolution. So we're getting that opportunity to kind of re-empower ourselves, figure out where we're going to be making some changes, where things outside of ourselves are actually impacting our ability to grow, to lead. We've seen that with the opposition to Mars in Leo. So it's great if you're ready to face a challenge, if you're ready to face your fears. This is all about rethinking, I think, our roles in the collective and really transforming from the ground up. So it's going to feel like, for some of us, a cosmic therapy session. Now, the degrees that this is going to be impacting is really going to be anything between 0 and 4 degrees of Aquarius. So let me show you guys, obviously, I'll pull out this marker. There we go. Over the next couple of days, you're going to see the Mars-Pluto opposition kick off. Okay, so this is going to be exact on the evening of April 26th. Mars at 3 degrees, Pluto at 3 degrees. This is a Gemini degree, so it deals with the power of words, contracts, negotiations, the mind, and kind of flip-flopping and going back and forth between two sides of a situation. As we're coming into the new moon in Taurus, we're also going to see that the sun is in an extended square to Pluto, power struggles, issues with authority, as well as banking, money, personal possession, and a square to the sun and Mars, where we feel like there is some fierceness, combativeness, and obviously some ego issues that are kind of coming up as well. So I think for some of us, we're kind of feeling like we're experiencing like little mini ego deaths this week. And then finally, as we get into the beginning of May, we will see Pluto turn retrograde. So that retrograde is going to start on May the 4th, 2025 at 3 degrees and change. So if you happen to have an Aquarius sun, moon, rising, maybe a personal planet, anywhere from 0 to 4 degrees, you're feeling the impact of this particular transit. It's a conjunction if you have planets at these degrees. Obviously, Scorpio rising, I hope you guys are paying attention as your chart ruler is getting ready to turn retrograde, very personal for you. And anybody that has anything from about 0 to 4 degrees of the fixed signs. So Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius are all going to be impacted by this retrograde. Now, if we really think about the retrograde, I mean, Pluto is a slow-moving planet, so we're going to be seeing Pluto retrograde back over degrees that it's been passing through really over this last several-month period since it made its ingress in the fall of 2024. So we can feel like there is a sense of revisiting old ghosts or old patterns or old fears or phobias. And we're going to see that Pluto will actually be retrograde until about mid-October 2025. That's when it's going to station direct, and it's going to be stationed at 1 degrees and change. So this is all happening within the first decan of Aquarius. And the decans, if you guys aren't familiar with that, each sign is divided up into 0 to about 10 degrees or 0 to 9 degrees for the first decan. So each sign is going to have about a third split, and it's going to represent a whole different energy. So the first decan of the early degrees of Aquarius is very much associated with Uranus. That is the modern day ruler of Aquarius. So it has this visionary vibe. It's also connected to the future. It's very electric. It can be about technology and AI. And it's also very personal. The early degrees of all of the signs are very personal as well. So it's been interesting to see that it's retrograde in the exact same degree of where we have been experiencing the Mars-Pluto opposition as well. So whatever kind of, conflict or drama or world events that are getting kicked up over the next couple of days, we're going to see that this gives us an opportunity for several months to reevaluate. Okay, this thing happened. What are we going to be doing? Where is the future of technology, the internet, and all of us kind of collectively going? And Mars and Leo has been about these new brave leaders, people who have a vision, who are bold and dynamic and willing to kind of stand up to some of the pressure of Pluto. So the future of surveillance, maybe the future of AI. There's also been this very personal versus kind of collective dramas that have been playing out as well, where you've seen a lot of polarity through this opposition. And obviously all of the squares to the sun in Taurus is about the physical impact, how it's impacting the earth, how it's impacting resources, our luxury goods, how it's impacting also banking. So we're going to see some people willing to kind of dare to go in a different direction, willing to gamble and take risks is definitely Leo. And we're going to see if some of those risks are going to be paying off over the next couple of months. I really think that Pluto retrograde in a nutshell, in this sign in particular, is really about asking ourselves, are our ideals authentic? Are we breaking free for real? Or are we just telling ourselves that we're doing it? Where are we just kind of going through the motions, and where are we actually focusing on making change in the future? So this is really where the magic really is, and I think the work happens is during this Pluto retrograde. Now, onto the Sabian symbols. So those of you guys who are new here, I like to kind of look at the Sabian symbols and see how they apply We do round up. So because Pluto is going to turn retrograde at 3 degrees and change, we'll read the 4th degree of Aquarius to get a little context. And basically the Sabian symbols, it breaks down all 360 degrees of the zodiac. It's almost like little cosmic poems that correlate with the energies that are being triggered. So Aquarius 4 is a Hindu healer. The keyword is therapy, a word that Pluto is very familiar with. And the theme is realignment. So the symbol speaks to impact and the ability to make a difference in the world, and to healing and also corrective realignment of the body, mind, and circumstance. The image of a Hindu healer alludes to the ability to touch all things in unifying magic. The emphasis on this degree is dedication, spiritual self-discipline, and the perfection of skill and method. At its highest, it represents physical and mental mastery and a natural gift for bringing out the best in others. Watch for fraud and fakery. Today, the accent is on realignment. Efforts today center on spiritual as well as physical healing. Unusual or unorthodox methods may be used to treat particularly difficult situations. Your greatest advantage lies in focusing on the situation as you would like it and holding on to the image in your consciousness. Guard against wasting your time and energy trying to get rid of or destroy what you don't like. Do your best to understand all the reasons for your experience and be careful not to fall victim to frauds or quacks who promise to cure you of all your ills for the right price. The key stepping stones are treatment, care, remedy, measures, rehabilitation, restoration, rejuvenation, unification, recuperation, improvement, elixir, healing. I think about how we've had in recent years, Mercury retrogrades in Leo. We've had Venus retrogrades in Leo. Now we've had a Mars retrograde that actually started in Leo. And it's in a sign that deals with life. Okay, so Mars-Pluto oppositions are very cutthroat, life or death. And I think about how this is probably going to be connected to a lot of what has been promoted for the masses in terms of what is healthy or what is going to bring us a vitality. I think that there's probably going to be a reevaluation on health matters. I mean, obviously, South Node's in Virgo, and whether or not we have the capability of being able to heal. And as it was kind of talking about in the Sabian symbol, that you have to hold that vision in your mind's eye for how you want to feel, how you want to see things kind of play out, and if you can actually overcome some of the obstacles and heal yourself. Pluto is regenerative, so it can also be about learning in the future over the next couple of months about new healing techniques. So think like maybe med beds, frequencies, sound healing, vibrational healing, all different kinds of new, weird, and maybe for some of you guys wacky, but definitely state-of-the-art ways of being able to heal. And I think we're probably going to be hearing more about some of that stuff as well. Now, obviously, the symbol speaks to inner strength, unconventional healing, and tapping into your transformative potential. So that's really what Pluto wants to do on this degree. I feel like as it's kind of lingering nearby, it's really nudging us towards a deep soul level renewal during the next couple of months. Now, in terms of what it represents, Pluto, I think, in Aquarius on a global scale, so far since we've seen the ingress the last couple of years, it's definitely been revolutionizing tech. We've seen ChatGPT, all kinds of AI developments, new softwares and development. So I think we're going to see a reassessment of what of this actually is going to be beneficial for the collective. We might hear about more congressional hearings and discussions about moving forward with these technologies, what is beneficial, what potentially could also be a little bit problematic. We're also going to be seeing how Pluto retrograde is impacting communities and power structures. So we want to think about big shifts in how we connect and just exactly who holds those reins. Who is in control of, exposure and, relaying information or releasing information, especially because Pluto can deal with things that have been secretive or covered up. I think this is also about stripping away what's fake and, aligning with our truest self. And it might feel like a little bit more of a quieter push because it's going to be retrograde. So it's like an invitation really to reflect and think about your vision for the future, especially in that area of your chart. What is it that you need to change internally, or what do you need to let go of or end in order to welcome some kind of new beginning? It's all about finding your place in the world when we look at Aquarius as well. So even though this is subtle, I think for some of us it can feel kind of intense and like a slow unraveling of realizing everything we don't want, everything that stinks or things that are rotten that has to go, so that way we can focus on where we can actually grow and move forward. That is the Mars opposition. Now, on that opposition in particular, something I've observed with Mars and Leo opposed Pluto and Aquarius is we've seen a lot of drama. We've seen a lot of ego, a lot of boldness, obviously clashing with Pluto's deep need and I think the collective energy, because Leo is very personal and Aquarius is very much about groups. So these transits so far, especially at the beginning of the year, right around New Year's, and now this one that's kind of coming up here on the 26th of April, is definitely bringing up for us, where there has been unresolved tension and where that tension is kind of, blowing up. We've seen power struggles, maybe power and control that's being grabbed by certain leaders. We've also seen lingering fallout that's really been happening since the fall of last year. So this is key to pay attention to what's coming up in this next week, because you're going to see that the conflict, the wounds, the fallout is going to happen with Mars opposed Pluto. And then when Pluto turns retrograde on the 4th of May, it's going to be your chance to really heal those wounds and maybe not let them fester, especially after all the Mars-Pluto heat that's been kind of getting kicked up recently. Now, here's where things get interesting, is that I see that it's not just about Pluto turning retrograde or even Pluto being in Aquarius. I think that there is cosmic backup. So we've got, planets that are dispositors of Pluto. So because it's in the sign of Aquarius, it's going to be connected, or it's going to correlate with both Saturn as well as Uranus. Now, recently we have seen Saturn in Pisces, as it's nearing the end of its trek in this sign, has been sextiling Uranus and Taurus. So there's been some kind of collective dissolving, breaking down, releasing, letting go that is impacting Uranus and Taurus. So that's trade disruption. That is also where there's been some secretive things going on that's impacting the frequency of the planet. Weather issues that have been impacting all of us physically or financially. And also crops, agriculture, growth. That's very much Uranus and Taurus. So maybe some of this stuff is now going to be exposed. We will see. I think Pisces, because it's more behind the scenes, it's like we're not really knowing what's going on or what's being held back. And it can definitely disrupt what we have access to, right? Uranus in Taurus does not function well because Taurus is a sign that likes to be stable, secure, likes to have resources. So it's also been kind of impacting or I think manipulating the stocks, obviously, and also some goods. Anyway, Saturn is about to go into Aries. We're going to see that happening at the end of May. Uranus is going to be going into Gemini. We're going to see that later this summer. That's going to be taking place in July. So what's interesting is that there is almost like a cosmic trio kind of at play here. And all of them will also aspect one another. We will be seeing that in 2025 as well as in 2026. So my goodness, this adds a whole other layer to the mix. Obviously, Pluto is not flying solo on this retrograde, even though it's going to be retrograde and it's going to be kind of licking its wounds. Saturn is going to move forward, Uranus is going to move forward, and it's going to be leading the way. So on May 24th, Saturn enters Aries, right? Brave, bold, daring, pioneering, and also having to figure out how to be more of an authority figure, right? How to assert itself, how to take more responsibility. Then we are going to see on July 7th, Uranus is going to go into Gemini, and I kind of feel like these two are going to be the ones that are kind of steering the ship while Pluto is retrograde. This can be really big for the collective. This can mean that there's groundbreaking news, information, new ways of communicating, access to information with Uranus and Gemini. And Saturn and Neptune means that humanity is up for a sobering reality check if we choose to go after that information, if we choose to also do something about some of the stuff that's going on. So it's kind of like a collective wake-up call. So they are Pluto's dispositors. That's the fancy word for it. That means that they are the rulers of Pluto while it's in Aquarius. And it's going to be the one that's going to be kind of, these are the planets that are going to be kind of shaping things while we continue to move forward with this Pluto retrograde. So, Saturn and Aries, it can feel like it's a coach in a way, pushing us maybe to act boldly, but do it responsibly. while Uranus in Gemini is like the mad genius, and it can be dropping mind-blowing ideas and new information and all kinds of tech and stuff that can be kind of coming up. They will sextile each other. And also Uranus is going to be in a slight trine to Pluto. So this is creating a flow of energy that's taking place in air and fire signs. So we're going to see rapid information, rapid changes that are going to be happening throughout this retrograde. I feel like after the Mars-Pluto clashes that have been taking place, this is now a chance to turn tension into progress. We can work with these energies or we can let them work us. So globally, expect new systems, tech breakthroughs, and personally, I think it's really a time to step up and speak out. That's really what this is going to be about. The trio is saying, okay, you've had time to reflect. Maybe Pluto brings the exposure. Now it's time to act. So I think this is important because they're all playing a role here. And when we think about the aspects that they're going to be making, planets in Aries, this is always about bold new beginnings and raw energy. So Saturn will be in this sign until the beginning of September of this year before it retrogrades back into Pisces. And then it'll fully come into Aries in February of 2026 when we see the Saturn, Neptune, and Aries conjunction. So I think that, Saturn is basically going to be really teaching us more about building resilience, taking responsibility for our actions, forging new paths, being disciplined. So even if Pluto is kind of like offline for a little bit with the retrograde, it's going to give us an opportunity to be bold and brave and kind of embrace new challenges. Uranus, on the other hand, so it will only stay until, it'll stay there between the beginning of July and November of 2025, and then it will retrograde back into Taurus. That's why 2025 is kind of weird. It's like a preview where we're seeing the trailer of some of the stuff that's really going to happen in 2026. But this is going to be electrifying. We're going to see that this is going to be giving us opportunities almost to like look at Uranus and Taurus as like a megaphone, maybe shaking up how we think, maybe how we talk, how we connect. So I do think that there's going to be some breakthroughs in media as well as transportation with sides of chaos that is definitely going to happen, especially with trines to Pluto. But these particular planets are going to be in charge, and I think they're going to be kind of helping lead the way. So working and kind of putting all of this together, I feel like this is really important because we have to take into consideration Saturn's structure as well as Uranus's kind of like innovation and new ideas. It's going to be really, those two planets are going to be acting like the catalyst for change while Pluto is kind of working behind the scenes. So watch for some of this stuff in other areas of your chart. How is this going to be playing out personally versus the collective? Well, it pays to know your natal chart. If you know that you've got planets that are within, 0 to 4 degrees of the air signs, you're going to be experiencing a trine, so it can be a little bit more beneficial for you. Versus if you know that you have planets 0 to 4 degrees of the fixed signs, you know that you're going to be under a Pluto square, opposition, or a conjunction. So you got to look at your chart. Specifically, what you want to look at is which house this is taking place in. I would just say start there, okay? Because what's going to pop up is, personally, old fears, right? Control issues, buried emotions. These things can now resurface. Pluto retrograde is kind of like, like when zombies, and in the horror movies, they kind of crawl out of the grave and they're like back and they're kind of attacking you and scaring you. The places you did not look, the things that you were not considering, the situations that were least likely to pop up, those are the things that are going to be kind of coming back. And Pluto loves to stir the pot. So you might be questioning, your goals and how you can make changes in that area of your life. The house is actually going to dictate the area that you're going to be kind of feeling like is under construction. Globally, it could, materialize as pauses in tech breakthroughs, pauses in exposure. It can also materialize as collective movements where we're all kind of reassessing what's real. Hidden power plays can definitely surface. It's not as explosive as when Pluto is direct, though. It's more of like a slow burn, and it's going to be revealing what it is that we need to change. So personally, I think that this is really about your authenticity and your place in the collective or your place in the world. It's going to show you what you need to transform. Thankfully, Saturn in Aries is going to help you take the responsible steps forward with a sextile to Pluto. So it's going to go, okay, this thing happened, this crisis happened, this ending came up. What are you going to do about it, right? And Neptune's there too. It's going to help you kind of gain clarity with what you need to be doing. It's also about passion. And maybe for some of us, there's going to be a new passion project. We're starting groups, joining groups, and standing up for our truth. Now, while Pluto is retrograde, remember, it's also going to be trining Uranus and Gemini. So we'll have some aha moments. We're probably also going to be feeling like we're rewiring how we express ourselves. And together, it can make this retrograde feel less about brooding and more about acting on some of the revelations that are kind of coming up in our life. And it's a call really to align our inner world with our outer actions. Globally, on the other hand, a lot of that's going to depend on what happens over the next week or so. We are yet to come into the Mars-Pluto opposition for the final time this year. This is definitely one of the more intense energies of all of 2025. And if we look back at what happened in the new year when it opposed around New Year's Day, we saw tragedies that were unfolding in New Orleans where there was attacks that happened in crowds. We have also seen lots of explosive kind of terror-related events that have been taking place. And we saw house fires that also materialized in California during the Mars-Pluto oppositions in Cancer and in Capricorn. As I'm filming this is the 23rd of April, 2025. So we are starting to see headlines that are emerging. Two particular things caught my interest. One is we're seeing fires and evacuations happening in Jersey, in the United States. So house fires, thousands, I think the last I heard was 15,000 people without power. They're evacuating people. Supposedly, some of the fires are getting really close to what can be, I think, power plants or nuclear plants. I'm not sure. Pluto, right, in Aquarius, it's nuclear power. And Mars is fires and what individuals are trying to do to kind of get away from the energy and find safety. So dramatic, deadly, explosive things happen under these oppositions. Also ongoing tensions regarding, who has weapons of war and what those weapons are and new technology in regards to war. And some of these oppositions are really kind of lighting up the charts of countries in the Middle East. So we might hear more about, what's going on in Israel, what's happening with Iran and nuclear powers and negotiations and deals to be able to diffuse what could be nuclear tension. And as of this week, per the Telegraph, we are hearing that the UK is weeks away from giving the green light to starting a new project where they're going to be either releasing aerosols into the air or they're going to be trying to lighten clouds to reflect and bounce back the sun's rays. No big deal, right? Pluto is about power, okay? And it's also about death. And it's in polarity to Leo, which is about the sun. So anything that's manipulated, anything that is either foreign or unusual or technology-based is generally Aquarius. So to see Pluto in Aquarius where there is a bunch of billionaires that are playing God and using all these technological advancements to manipulate and control Pluto, the masses, Aquarius, doing that by trying to change our atmosphere and block out the sun, the one thing that keeps us connected, the one thing that keeps the planet alive and all of us connected to the sun, receiving those downloads, staying healthy, getting our vitamin D, seems kind of weird, right? What's going to go wrong? So Mars-Pluto oppositions, I think, are going to be about individuals waking up and realizing that a war is on, but it's not your typical war. It's happening in strange, weird, technological, advanced ways. It's happening due to frequencies. And I don't know, something about that really rubs me the wrong way. And the fact that it's happening where there is a country that's making these decisions unilaterally about how they're going to be managing the sunlight, how does that impact the rest of the planet? That's my question. Especially in a place that gets such little sun as it is. And they're doing this all in the name of global warming and wanting to basically, deflect the sun so they can kind of protect. Very strange, right? Especially in recent weeks when there has been major disclosure and damning information that's come out about major name brands that make sunscreen, right? That come to find out there was cancer-causing agents that for years, for decades, has been pumped into sunscreen. So you're told, don't get too much direct sun contact, you're going to get cancer, blah, 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 wear your sunscreen, right? And only to find out that we've been doing this for years, right? And that the very thing that we're putting on our bodies to protect us from the sun is actually giving us cancer. So now that information is out, don't you guys find it a little weird that now there's this rush to really push through a project to block out the sun? And not just about how it impacts our bodies and our health and our vitality, but what about the downloads that we get from the sun, right? What about that connection that we have and how that might impact our, not only our atmosphere, but also what's going on magnetically with the earth, which is impacted by the sun. Just some things that I've been kind of thinking about. So, I think that the positive here is that, Saturn with the sextile to Pluto can definitely manifest as new leaders and new structures that are emerging. And this has got to be people who have grit and guts. While Uranus and Gemini is definitely disrupting communication and travel, but it can give us breakthroughs as well. So these sextiles suggest that, the changes won't be as chaotic as maybe they could have been if there was nothing kind of aspecting Pluto. This will give us progress as well as purpose. And after these oppositions that we have seen between Mars and Pluto, it's going to feel, I think, like more of a constructive exhale and like learning how to kind of channel this tension into innovation. But in order to do that, we have to have people who are willing to kind of innovate, stand up and do something and see clearly, have a vision. Now, I think the best way to work with this retrograde, to be honest with you guys, how to roll with this is embrace what's going on internally. That's been something that I've observed a lot over looking at Pluto transits for, the last 10 plus years. It's just whenever Pluto is retrograde, I feel like there is so much more profound shift internally. So when Pluto goes direct and the heat turns up and the pressure is on, we have the ability and the capability of then making those changes. So maybe journal about what's been holding you back. You can meditate on, some stuff you haven't been wanting to kind of gain insight on. You can lean into focusing on, self-healing. You can do some kind of energy healing. You can also consider, working with a therapist or doing some shadow work. It's really time to kind of it's not time to bulldoze through heavy feelings. It's time to sit with it. And obviously it's uncomfortable, but where the discomfort is where we're going to have the most room for growth. And remember that Pluto retrograde isn't necessarily about planting seeds that will bloom immediately. It's going to take time. And those seeds are going to have to kind of sit in the dark and the manure and process before they're able to kind of come to fruition. So trust the process. It's going to feel a little slow. We're going to be in this until about October of this year. Don't fight the transformation. Remember that if you do that, resistance with Pluto can actually make things feel a little stickier. So I would like to show you guys where the Pluto retrograde is taking place for all of the 12 rising signs. I also cover this in my May horoscopes. So if you guys haven't checked those out, those are live. I touch on all the major aspects for the month of May 2025. And as a reminder, I am a Western astrologer, so I do not practice Vedic. This is Western. We're going to look at it under the lens of the whole sign method, and I'm going to be pulling up each of the ascendant signs and talking about where this Pluto retrograde is taking place and how to navigate that. So obviously, stay tuned. I'll give you all of the predictions and tips and even a few little remedies I have for each sign as well, just to kind of help you guys navigate this period. I'm going to start first with my Aries and my Aries risings, okay? So for you guys, you're going to be experiencing Pluto turning retrograde, and that's going to be happening in Aquarius in your natal 11th house. Sorry, guys, the retrograde isn't here yet, but it's retrograde. You'll see. So Pluto's turning retrograde in your 11th house, and Pluto is connected to your 8th house of change, transformation, joint finance, maybe investments, psychological shifts as well. So Pluto turning retrograde in this part of your chart is about reassessing and reevaluating what's going on with your friends as well as your goals. Are friends leaving? Are new people coming in? Are you working through some dramatic change, with your goals? Is your social circles shifting a little bit? That's what you want to be thinking about. So I predict for you guys that there could be a key alliance that might end or evolve, right? It's going to be one of the two things. And you'll see that breakthrough through how you're connecting and communicating with another person. Somebody can also be coming to you and talking to you about, the changes they're going through. And you might find, especially with Saturn and Neptune coming into your sign with the sextile, that you can support them, you can guide them, you can give them, the necessary insights that they need to go through that change. It's also possible that you have a new dream or you have a new vision and you're trying to figure out, how do I make this real? Do I need to create a community? Do I need to go and find my tribe in order to kind of tap into some of these new dreams that you're hoping to bring into reality? So my advice for you guys is seek authentic connections. I think that's going to be the most important thing. You might see where there's some friends that are kind of fair weather or some snakes in the grass that can come up with a Pluto retrograde. And with Saturn and Neptune in your sign, you might go, you know what? It's better to have like, 4 quarters and 100 pennies. I have very few people that I keep close, but that's okay. I want to align with people who are going to kind of share my same perspective and also who are going to be kind of vibrating on the same wavelength. So I would say to kind of remedy some of the intensity that can be coming up for you guys socially, volunteer, right? Volunteer maybe to balance out the energy. Maybe it's about giving back and kind of connecting with a collective or a group of people that could use your assistance or your guidance. That's the best way to kind of navigate that with Saturn and Neptune also coming into your sign. Hope that's helpful for you, Aries. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. What's up, Taurus? Obviously, if you're a Taurus, sun, moon, and rising, 0 to 4 degrees, you are under a Pluto square. So you have been feeling this pressure for the better part of like the last 6 months or so with Pluto squaring those parts of your chart. Obviously, Pluto is also in an angular house. So he is very loud when he is in one of the angular houses. And the 10th house in your chart deals with your career. So this is about power dynamics at work in the public eye. Whether this is your relationship with bosses, authority figures, all that stuff. And your career is going to be the area of focus. Now, Pluto represents your 7th house of relationships. So this can be a business partner, a spouse. This could also mean your kind of public reputation, as the 7th and the 10th house both deal with how people see you and who you are out in the world. So I do think that it's a subtle shift in status that can be happening. Maybe you're reassessing what changes you have made at work or what changes you have made with your career. Maybe you're kind of thinking about who you should or should not be aligning yourself with, what kind of people, clients, or partnerships are actually going to help you kind of grow the way that you want to grow or go in the right direction. So I would recommend for you guys to reflect, but not to react, okay? And a lot of this is also because in recent months, you have seen Mars and Pluto oppose, where there's tension between who you are out in the world versus who you are at home in private. And it's also with this recent or up and coming new moon in Taurus, it's squaring you. So you're being asked to kind of navigate these intense changes in a peaceful manner. Take your time. It doesn't need to be one or the other. It doesn't need to be, okay, I'm focusing on my private life, my home and family, or my career. You can navigate both. And yes, they impact one another, but maybe you have a partner or, a spouse or somebody saying to you, you just need to take some time. You just need to integrate. You don't need to rush to these changes. It doesn't need to be all at once. One thing I can tell you as far as a remedy, though, is definitely sage your workspace. Clean that space up a little bit. Get those vibes of Pluto out of there so that way you're not feeling the intensity and the power struggles. Good luck, Taurus. We've got Gemini rising. What's up, Gemini? Honestly, I think you guys are going to navigate this pretty well. I think you've got a lot of support coming in from some of the transits that are going to be aspecting Pluto. So you might actually really enjoy this time. Pluto is going to be turning retrograde in Aquarius in your natal 9th house. And this is a house that deals with your beliefs, okay? So for some of you guys, it's your education. It could be about travel. It could be about law and publishing or teaching, or just your belief system in general about the world at large, right? So Pluto is connected to your 6th house, which is about health, habits, routine. What do you believe about service? What do you believe your purpose is? Where are you supposed to be when it comes to work and service? So as it's in Aquarius in your 9th house, what's going to happen here is your perspective during Pluto retrograde is going to get a little bit of a makeover. And I like that Uranus will be going into your sign over the summer. That means that you're kind of flying your freak flag. That is taking the 9th house Lord and putting it in the 1st. So there could be a dramatic shift in how you communicate, what you're learning, new languages, spontaneous travel, all of that stuff is really helping you kind of really immerse yourself in the transformative energy of Pluto. Some of you guys will adopt new mentors, you'll be training, you'll go through certifications. And I think it's going to be really wonderful for you to kind of see all those planets like harmonize. I think really, the prediction here is that there's going to be a truth that's going to emerge for you guys about either your health or your purpose or your job that's going to hit home during this retrograde. And you might have to travel to get this download. You might be exploring new philosophies also that can kind of help you shape your new mindset. And I would say it would be really helpful for you guys maybe to have, with all this air and fire, some grounding energy. So do yourself a favor, like keep some amethyst on you. It can be really helpful for insight and really channeling some of those downloads that you're going to be getting throughout this period. Good luck, Gemini. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Pluto's retrograde in Aquarius in your natal 8th house. Well, the good news is Pluto is very comfortable in this house. This is a house that is associated traditionally with Pluto or Scorpio. So it's about deep transformations, endings, beginnings, intimacy, joint finances, taxes, and all like the spooky things that we don't want to deal with. So having Pluto turn retrograde here, I feel like definitely brings up a lot of deep emotions, okay? And these deep emotions can be about money, it can be about intimacy, it can be about death and endings and letting things go. And Pluto is also connected to your 5th house, which deals with matters of the heart. So financial entanglements with romantic partners, also intimacy and, dating related things can come up. Taking chances, investing or gambling, and wealth that can be accumulated can come up. And healing the heart and any trauma or anything connected to childhood or heartbreak can definitely be a theme during this transit. I do feel like, as a tip for you guys, I would say don't avoid the shadows. Pluto is here and he's making himself known. Especially if you're an early degree Cancer rising, 0 to about 3 degrees. Pluto is in conjunct or quincunx the ascendant, which means it's trying to show you where there are some deep-seated emotions that have been trapped that need to come out, that need to be dealt with. I say do it, especially because it could really kick into overdrive your intuition with Uranus going into your 12th house this summer. It is also going to be sextiling Saturn in your 10th. So through bold new changes and innovations at work, you might actually uncover, opportunities to have more financial security, to obliterate debt and, take care of anything that is owed. And it also could really help you get to new levels of intimacy with romantic partners. So in order to better navigate this, I feel like black tourmaline is actually really great for 8th house transits or anything kind of connected to Pluto. I feel like you also would benefit from having a little bit of earth energy, because over the next couple of months, we're going to have so many things in fire in your career house and air in your 12th house. Also over the summer, Jupiter's going to come into your sign. So you're going to be feeling, I think, a little bit more optimistic maybe about some of the changes that are kind of coming up. And you're going to say, I'm not afraid of fear. So just, stay grounded throughout this process and maybe do some shadow work. Good luck. We got Leo and Leo rising. What's up, Leo? How you doing? I'm looking at this Mars opposition, and I know I have so many Leo rising clients and Leo rising friends in my life. I've heard a number of war stories, so I hope you guys are hanging in there. Pluto is obviously getting ready to turn retrograde. It's going to turn retrograde in your 7th house. And as everybody says, retrogrades, they do bring up the past. And whether you are still dancing with it, the ghosts of exes, if there are people that make reappearances, if there is a reassessment of an existing relationship, all of those things can definitely happen. But one thing I will tell you guys is you got to reflect on what's been happening since December, okay? Because Mars has been retrograde in your sign, where there has been this reevaluation of who am I, where am I going, what am I doing, what do I believe in? And maybe you feel like you've been kind of displaced in the process. And it's been in opposition to Pluto. So likely you've been dealing with a figure in your life who is either very pro making big changes and they're going through this major rebirth period, or you've seen the other side of Pluto and Aquarius where you've been dealing with partners, friends, allies, even therapists, could be spouses who have been very reluctant to change, or they've been very intense. And you've seen some power struggles throughout that opposition. So Pluto is going to be connected to your 4th house, which deals with, on the surface, your home, your family, your living situation. But it can also mean that you're unearthing family trauma. You're unearthing issues that you have been having in your relationship, or there are things from the past that are now coming back up that need to be dealt with. So throughout this Pluto retrograde, I feel like partnerships will feel intense, but it can also be integration. So if you have taken space from somebody during this time, they're going to be integrating, they're going to be thinking about their role in that. I also feel like this can definitely, for the right relationships, a bond can definitely deepen. Like you can see that there could be more depth. You might realize, you know what, we really do need to take the next step. Maybe we do actually need to move in together. Maybe we do need to commit, or maybe we need to take space, right? Maybe we need to go to therapy. That could be something else that can come up with Pluto in the seventh, is a couples therapist. Regardless of what has been happening, I want you to be focusing on giving other people the time to really reflect on, hey, actions have consequences. If this is something that you need, if you need space, you need freedom, I get that. Here are the repercussions. Process what's been happening with the Mars oppositions. Let go of the drama. As a remedy, I really encourage you guys maybe to work with a little bit of rose quartz. That can be really helpful for promoting peace, also for trying to kind of handle some of these delicate or disruptive relationship issues with love and diplomacy, and also trying to be a little bit more understanding of what other people are going through. I know you guys only have so much patience. What's interesting is that Pluto is going to come into a sextile with Saturn moving into your ninth house and Neptune as well. So if it is kaput and the ending of relationships, that is kind of leading the way for, well, legal drama and having to talk to people who can represent you as Saturn goes into the ninth house. But they might go on pilgrimages. You might go on pilgrimages. Maybe you guys go on a retreat or something together and you're able to work through issues. You'll also see Uranus coming in for a trine that will be really bringing new opportunities for social groups, connections, diffusing some of the intensity that's kind of going down in your relationship zone. Good luck. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. What's up, Virgo? Well, Pluto's turning retrograde in Aquarius in your natal sixth house. This is a house you guys are familiar with. Obviously, the sixth house is both the sixth and the eighth house. They in conjunct, or they don't aspect the ascendant. So you in Cancer may not quite see some of the themes of the Pluto retrograde as easily as some of the other signs. But the sixth house is about your health. It's also your routines, your habits, coworkers, your pets, anything also kind of connecting to service, okay? So what service or sacrifices that you're kind of making in your day-to-day life. Pluto is connected to the mind, so it's about communication, learning. It could be about vehicles, also apps, technology, social media. This can also be about moving, contracts, communication. You know, the third house is kind of like the junk drawer in astrology. So there's a lot of things that require communication that come through this house. So I think about this and I'm like, okay, well, first of all, with the retrograde, you know, health and work habits need a reset. Like there is like a reckoning happening either with your health or with some people at the office. And you're like, something is not working. Somebody is a problem. Certain systems aren't working. The way that we're connecting, you know, is kind of like frying. And now you're trying to figure out what the solution is. My advice here, Virgo, is something that I know it's gonna be difficult for you guys, but simplify, don't stress, simplify. Pluto basically wants you to dismantle and get rid of things that are causing problems. And that could be people, that could be habits, that could be issues in how you're scheduling or how you're communicating with people. Get rid of things. Detoxes can be really helpful here, and anything that can kind of better manage stress, because a lot of this is also connected to mental health stuff as Pluto rules your third house. So setting up new systems, new websites, ways to better communicate so there isn't so much stress going on can be helpful. And I would be encouraging healthier habits. So whether you're using apps and technology to better kind of track your steps and what you're eating and what you're doing in terms of your, your habits, or, productivity apps. This can also mean that you guys are incorporating journaling into your daily routine that can kind of help you process things a little bit better. Have some chamomile tea. That'll help you guys unwind. Also deal with any digestional issues or tummy issues that can kind of come up with Pluto in this house. Likely that's triggered by stress. Good luck. We've got Libra and Libra rising. What's going on, Libra? So you're going to have Pluto turning retrograde in Aquarius in your fifth house. If you happen to be in early degree Libra, Sun, Moon, or rising, 0 to about 4 degrees, this is actually a pretty decent transit as it will be trining your Libra aspects. Now, the fifth house obviously deals with creativity in a nutshell, what we create, right? Whether this is hobbies, art, children, romantic relationships, and our own personal joy. So that's all basically being reevaluated during this retrograde. And it's about reevaluating really your creative spark, right? That's going to be transforming how you express yourself, how you create. Now, Pluto is connected to your second house, which on the surface is money, right? So how money changes, money stuff, personal values, and also your spending power is impacting your fifth house. This can mean that you're reassessing your investment strategy. Maybe you're reevaluating a hobby, whether or not you're investing or spending too much money on it. Maybe you're playing around with new creative projects or side hustles that could potentially bring you more of an income. And I feel like for you guys, a passion project might be taking shape. And you might see this slowly, but it might be something that's going to be developing over the next couple of months. I would advise you guys to really lean into some of the trines and the sextiles because I think it's going to be very helpful. Where, yes, Pluto retrograde can be reevaluating a crisis in connection to a broken heart or even children. That sextile to Saturn and Neptune going into your relationship house means that you're going to have support from a strong ally. So it could be a therapist, it could be a new relationship coming in to help heal a broken heart, where relationships could get more serious because you're reevaluating matters of the heart or even having kids. And then you will see Uranus go into your ninth house in Gemini that will be trining. So some of these new kind of expressive, creative projects might involve travel, teaching, learning, all of that stuff. And you, Libra, the early Libras and Libra risings will have a grand air trine. So it's all about taking chances, being dynamic, having fun, being expressive. And I think that you guys will benefit from the retrograde and from some of the sextiles. Even in spite of having planets in your opposite sign, you can navigate this if you have the right people by your side. So play with new ideas. I think I would recommend using citrine. I think citrine can be really good for boosting anything revolving around money and personal value, but it's also going to be really great for joy and being able to kind of create and express yourself. Sunstone can be really great for that as well with Pluto in your fifth house. Good luck. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. What's up, Scorpio? Well, your chart ruler is on the move. I've heard a lot of really interesting stories from Scorpio risings over the last couple of months with the Mars-Pluto opposition. So I hope you guys are doing well in the midst of some pretty intense squares taking place for you guys. Obviously, you're Pluto, right? So we don't just look at Pluto, we look at Mars. Pluto and Mars have been squaring off. Both of your rulers aren't seeing eye to eye. And as I have said in previous videos, when Pluto and Mars square off, Pluto always wins. He is always the one that is going to take all. Mars is going to get like cut up and burnt up, and it's not going to be able to kind of keep up with Pluto's wrath. So maybe things are progressing very quickly for you in regards to your work and your career stuff. But the truth is that Pluto retrograde is really calling you back home. It's calling you to kind of deal with a deeply rooted home or family matter. So family stuff gets real, roots get real. This is about what changes you are making, Scorpio, when it comes to your home front. Now, that could mean you're gutting a kitchen, you're demoing a house, you're rebuilding something, you're relocating, maybe you're moving back home, maybe you're dealing with a family crisis. It really depends. The fourth house can be dealing with one of your parents. But if there's something that's been stirring or kind of eating away at you for a while, now it's time to really reevaluate and clean out all of the muck. And you're going to feel like you have to do it with both hands. It's not going to be fun, but it's definitely going to be empowering for you in terms of what new foundations you're building in the long term. So my tip for you guys is heal those old patterns. That's what you have to do. Honestly, I would be doing a full kind of exorcism in my home. I feel like whether you want to wash the floorboards with a little bit of vinegar and salt and lemon, or, you want to burn some incense, you want to cleanse the space. Maybe you want to take a salt bath. The fourth house definitely can be good for cleansing and baths as well. Do something that's going to be about purging and purifying your space and really kind of getting to the root of some of the issues maybe that you have had for some time, especially if you want to break through. If you want to break old family or generational curses, if you want to break any issues that you're having revolving around feeling emotionally secure, being able to have your own home, being able to have your own family, this is a really powerful time to kind of uproot all of that. I kind of see it as like a garden, right? You have a garden you have to tend to, and all of these weeds are popping up. So you have to go and deal with the weeds and pull the weeds so it's not threatening the foundation of all of the things that you're trying to grow. Over the next couple of years, you'll see sextiles to Saturn in your sixth house. So a lot of this is where emotional wellness and maintenance of the home and your connection to home or family might go hand in hand with organization, cleaning, caring, taking care of someone or something. That could be children, that could be pets, that could be family members, that could be also bettering your health. And you'll also see trines happening to Uranus that's going to be moving into your 8th house. So radical innovations in money, joint finances, investments are suddenly going to happen, which is going to open the floodgates to things like inheritances, windfalls, investments, mergers, things that could really radically transform your home and your living situation. Good luck, Scorpio. We got Sag and Sag rising. What's going on, Sag? You're doing Pluto Retrograde in Aquarius in your natal 3rd house. And you also will navigate this, I think, a little bit better than some of the other signs because you're a fire sign. So the 3rd house is communication. It can mean how you think, how you write, how you communicate, what you're saying on socials. It can also represent vehicles. It can be connected to what you're learning, stuff going on with neighbors, stuff going on with siblings, that kind of thing. And Pluto is connected to your 12th house. So this is like where the subconscious comes out to play. And for Sag risings, a lot of it has been about overcoming that voice that is, what if it doesn't work out? What if it falls apart? What if everything, kind of goes downhill? Or maybe your fears. Maybe you're combating some of your subconscious fears. So I do feel like your words carry weight with Pluto in your 3rd house. You might find that you're really reevaluating or reassessing just what you think about, what you believe in, what you're giving power to, if you're speaking them into reality or not. And I think that what you can find over the next couple of months is that the mind is going to shift in a very positive way, where it can be about releasing some of these blockages or some of these fears. It could also mean that you have a number of powerful conversations that really shift things for you. Shift the way that you look at your community, shift the way that you look at your family, shift the way that you look at education. And it can be a time also where, you're incorporating divination or intuitive development because Pluto's connection to the 12th house. Maybe you're wanting to learn tarot or astrology to just confirm some of the gut feelings and kind of hits that you're having. So that way you feel like you have something that you can kind of exercise, right? And if you want to dig deep and learn that stuff, this could be a really great time to do that. Obviously, really fully reassess contracts, thoroughly look at vehicles before you buy them. Stuff like that's really important because the devil's in the details with Pluto in the 3rd. But I do feel like this is about speaking your truth. So what's nice is that especially if you're an early degree Sag, 0 to 4 degrees, Pluto is sextiling your ascendant. So it is helping you shift your frame of mind and how you communicate so you can be bold and adventurous. You'll also see sextiles to Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house, which means part of the new creative process that's emerging is how you communicate. Blogs, podcasts, YouTube channels, these can all be things that you're contemplating or considering. Also, this can be about how you're having powerful conversations about matters of the heart to heart with siblings, heart to heart with your children, discussing and talking about moves and how that's going to be impacting your love life or the relationship that you have with your kids. That can be another theme. And then, as you know, Uranus is going into your opposite sign, where Pluto will be trining, bringing lots of opportunities for spontaneous road trips and travel, better communications with siblings, as well as romantic partners. And this is just going to light your chart up like a Christmas tree with all of the sextiles that'll be happening between air and fire signs. So I'm excited to see what happens. I recommend you guys get some lapis. I think that would be really good for you to get clarity about what it is that you're interpreting and really finding the voice within to, tell people what you think and what's on your mind. You might notice that your spidey senses are a little bit stronger than usual. Good luck. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You guys are going to be doing Pluto's retrograde in Aquarius in your natal 2nd house of money, values, self-esteem, personal possessions, spending power, all that fun stuff. So several months of a reassessment of what do I value? What do I have? What's changing? All that stuff is going to be kind of going down. Now, Pluto is associated with your 11th house of friends, allies, groups, associations, and goals. So your goals revolving around making money might change. Your feelings about which friendships you want to hold on to and what you let go of might be changing as well. Obviously, this is definitely going to be bringing up the theme of just a reevaluation of your self-esteem and, what it is that you feel about yourself and how that might be impacting the flow of money or resources in your life. Maybe you're feeling like you need to align yourself with new people or new goals that are going to reflect these new standards that are going to come up for you during the retrograde. I really feel like for you guys, this is about ditching scarcity mindset, right? Oh my God, Pluto retrograde, like worst case scenario, what if I lose it all? Or what if I don't have the money or I don't have control over the resources? But really, I think I've never seen a Pluto second house transit manifest by the time it's done as somebody not being more financially sound. So obviously you got about 20 years to go through this transit, but I would say you don't want to start the transit going into lack mindset, because actually where the mind goes, energy flows. And you're definitely going to see this, especially because Neptune rules your mind and Pluto will be supporting you behind the scenes. You don't see it yet, but Pluto is saying, hey, we need to take some strategic kind of measures, and maybe it's cutting back or letting go of things or getting rid of stuff in order to fully support some of your new goals, where Saturn and Neptune are moving into your fourth house of home. Less is more. Less stuff, easier to move. Less financial responsibility, more money that you can save, and giving you the opportunity to really plan this new foundation for your life over the next couple of years. So Pluto's power is supporting Saturn's structure, and you are Saturn. You will also see Pluto dancing with some trines to Uranus, which will be going into Gemini, which can mean that part of the financial shift that's happening might actually stem from odd jobs, side projects, side hustles. Maybe you're taking gig jobs. Maybe you're just going freelance, or you're going to be starting your own business. But certainly Uranus in the sixth house means that changes that are happening with your work or your routine can definitely help power up your money. But so can your health. Health is important, right? Your wealth is in your health. Similarly, with Uranus going through the sixth house, you could see, job interruptions or health problems or challenges, which will trigger Pluto in the second house. So less is more, guys, with this. Maybe consider picking up some green adventuring. I think that could be really helpful for kind of, focusing on flow of income and resources, being in that abundance mindset, and helping you feel grounded while there is a real lack of earth that's going to be going on in the sky. Good luck, Capricorn. And we've got Pluto in Aquarius turning retrograde for my Aquarius sun, moon, and risings. Well, all eyes are on you guys. You guys are like little archetypes for Pluto running around. And it's always fun. I have a couple Aquarius rising friends. One of my best friends is Aquarius rising, and she's got the retrograde right on her ascendant. The other day she texted me. She was like, I don't know what the proper terminology is, but like something is like talking to me in my sleep. And she's like, I think it's like a dead woman. I was like, oh, it's Pluto. She doesn't know anything about astrology. I was like, that's Pluto. So it was interesting to kind of hear that from like a muggle tell me that they were having those experiences with Pluto. And Pluto hasn't turned retrograde yet. So obviously Pluto's going through the first house. I would imagine that's a trip for those of you guys who are 0 to 4 degrees. The retrograde is going to be more internal and less internal conflict or chaos. So you're going to get time to reflect on some of the stuff that's been going on over the last year or so. This is your moment, okay? This is your moment. Pluto represents your 10th house, which is your identity. This can also be about your career. This is about your personal power out in the world. And it's giving you several months to really reevaluate, who am I? What changes am I making career-wise, but also what changes am I making personally? And where does that change start from within? Now, on the flip side, the first house is the body. So for some of my Aquarius risings, I've been hearing needing knee replacements, surgeries, going through life, challenging, health issues. Yes, that stuff can kind of happen, but a Pluto ascendant transit does not necessarily mean that you're going to die. In many cases, I've seen clients go through it, and what does not kill you makes you stronger. What's dying is an old identity, okay? An old way that you look at yourself, the I am, this for a living, or I am within this partnership. You're reworking something about your identity. So there's a major identity glow up that's going to come from this. And I feel like there's going to be more internal conversation revolving around just exactly what do I want to do out in the world? What changes do I need to make? Where do I need to face the music? And in many cases, getting out of your own way. Now, what's really cool is that I feel like this is going to give you the opportunity to really own your quirks, to be different. And you're going to see Pluto in your sign sextiling Saturn, which will be coming into Aries in your third house here in May, which means that you can channel this power by writing, speaking, inspiring, sharing, learning, traveling. Okay, so you can kind of channel that intensity where you can be inspiring other people with your words. Journaling is helpful, walking is helpful, short distance trips is helpful as well. And simultaneously, you're going to see Pluto trine Uranus in your fifth house when it moves into Gemini over the summer. So Pluto is dancing with a sextile to your traditional ruler, Saturn. It's also trining your modern day ruler, Uranus. What? Write, create, have fun, speak your mind, be different. You guys are the ones that need to be on the forefront of really ushering in some of this change. Now, you have to do it in a responsible manner, sextiles to Saturn, but it can be a new form of creativity, self-expression, really exciting for hobbies, for your love life as well, with trines to Uranus in the fifth house. So really own it, enjoy this time, or you get a little bit of a break. For you guys, I think it would be really beneficial to have some earth energy with you. So I would say obsidian could actually be really good when you're going through a Pluto transit. They can help kind of neutralize some of the more negative energies. Shungite can be really good as well if you guys are kind of feeling like you're more sensitive to some of the Pluto stuff. And it's not unusual to feel with Pluto on your ascendant that you're getting some kind of contact from the other side. So watch for that. And finally, we've got the Pisces and Pisces risings, who will probably most likely have the most kind of more private, kind of subconscious experience with this transit because it's going through your 12th house. So the 12th house can be foreign lands. It could be sleep. It could also be behind the scenes or anything kind of connected to private spaces. Pluto is connected to the 9th house, which is about your belief system, foreign travel, higher education, your philosophy. So lots of late nights, maybe watching, your conspiracy videos and like reading about all kinds of new technological developments and breakthroughs. Maybe you're learning about hypnosis or past life regression stuff. Maybe you're, studying or traveling to a foreign land. It could be any of these things. But this is an interesting transit because I feel like your dreams are going to really tell you a lot about what you're releasing and letting go of. There can be a lot of like energetic release and release of fears or old karma when you're sleeping. So you need a good like sleep routine. Secrets can rise up here. And I think it could be secrets about, legal matters, secrets that can be about teachers. It can also be things that are related to just waking up to the reality of what's going on in the world because you're doing research and you're looking at what's going on in other countries. So you're going to be more kind of globally minded, I think, with Pluto retrograde in the 12th house. Pay attention to your intuition. That's the one thing that I would say. And I like that there is, even if Pluto is behind the scenes pulling the strings, it's going to be making sextiles to Saturn and Neptune, your chart ruler, in your second house. So it means that you're meditating, you're releasing any fears or outdated kind of beliefs about money, about your security, about your self-esteem. Meditation and hypnosis can become very helpful through these transits for you guys. You will also see Pluto will be making a trine to Uranus that's about to go into your fourth house. So yes, sporadic change, moves, relocations are definitely on the horizon. Some of you guys might feel like you're going back and forth between two places. Maybe you feel like you're in limbo right now. Maybe it's going to be about some big changes that are happening for your family. Maybe you just need a break in pace and you just need to, go and be in another city or country for a little bit. And that's going to be part of what's going to be happening, I think, with some of the trines. Listen to your gut. I feel like it's definitely going to be very helpful in helping navigate, where you're going, where you're spending money to with the sextiles in your second house, to kind of calm down some of that intensity. I'd love for you guys maybe to work with like some essential oils, like having a nighttime routine and something that you do as your rituals, very Pluto in the 12th house. So maybe work with lavender, work with something that's going to kind of calm you down a little bit because all of this air and fire can feel very different than some of the planetary energies that we have had in recent months. Good luck. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. That is the full scoop on Pluto's retrograde beginning in May of 2025. I know we're early, But guys, it's so intense, and we are going to be kind of seeing some of these intense situations kind of popping up over the next week. So watch for it. Know that it might be from outside of yourself that it's kind of going on, or things that are going on collectively. It's really a call to transform over the next several months during this retrograde. I'd love to hear what this is stirring up for you guys. You're always so chatty in the comment section. So definitely leave me a comment below. Let me know, are you experiencing like a Pluto square, Pluto trine? Is it conjunct a personal planet? It's always great to connect with you guys. I always try to give feedback when I can. And if you vibe with this video, definitely give me a thumbs up, like this video, and consider sharing on your socials. Equally, join the Astro crew. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can see more of my cosmic insights that are coming throughout the week. Follow me at BTV Astro on X as well. I'm always pretty active on there. If you guys ask questions or if you're seeing stuff that I'm posting, you can check that out. And you guys can catch me here tomorrow. We are going to be doing live astrology readings. I'll be here 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That's 4 p.m. on the Pacific Coast, 7 p.m. on the Eastern. We got a new moon in Taurus coming up, so I'd love to kind of talk to you guys about what this Mars-Pluto opposition is kind of kicking up during that new moon. Help you guys come up with some solutions and some ideas and how we can combat fear and plant new seeds. So make sure you join me. I love to see you guys on Fridays. Check out more of my work if you want to see what I'm doing, my courses, and much more at beyondtheveiltarot.com. Links are in the description below. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll catch you guys here tomorrow. Take care.